Played over giant steps.
Yeah.
And we just talked about how difficult it is.
Yeah, it's a tricky tune.
We tried to play it like in one chorus, and it took a few takes.
Yeah.
But we thought a cool concept would be talking about giant steps and like, okay, so how do you think over giant steps? Like, it's a difficult tune, so what are the strategies to get through the first few bars?
Yeah.
And yeah, it would just be a cool concept to talk about. So with no further ado, how do you think?
I mean, that's a very good question. But I have a couple of different patterns I use, like as a base around the chorus. And I try to like see the different key center and jump to them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But like a common pattern that I use a lot is this pattern here. So I kind of split up a major 7 arpeggio like this. And I kind of enjoy like moving it up the next, so in like in B. And then I can just move up to G. Just a half step up. And then I can go into these like kind of legato bursts around this as well.
Right.
But it also works like. And then. So I kind of really enjoy this pattern to like. So it allows for some different opportunities. So basically, I can use the same pattern. So I either start from the major 7 of the root chord.
So B major 7, we start.
Yeah, exactly. On major 7. And then I hammer on to exactly. And then we just go back. Yeah.
That's nice.
And then we just move it up a half step. And now we're on the 3rd of the G major 7. We have the same pattern, but we just need to move it up a half step.
So you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then we can move up to the major 7 of the E flat major key. Yeah. So I kind of like that pattern as an anchor to like get into the key like quickly if it's in a quicker tempo.
So how would that be in a slow tempo?
Let's see. I think for the first, yeah, we can try it. Let's go.
Let's just try the first few chords. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Kind of like that. You can use it.
Right.
So it works like, and yeah.
Right.
And then you can play around with the rhythm a little bit as well. And if you want to expand upon that, yeah, exactly.
Right.
And if you want to add more legato, you can add more notes, obviously. So instead of just playing, we could play. We add more notes, basically.
Right.
With legato, so it's almost the same pattern. So we hammer on here on the 4th fret of the G string, and then the 6th fret. Yeah. And then we have the same bass pattern on the E string, but we hammer onto the 4th fret of the E string. Almost, so we play exactly, yeah. And then we go back. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And what's kind of cool is now we can move up the exact same pattern again, but from the 3rd. Yeah, exactly. And then we move up to the... Yeah, you got it, nice.
Okay, yeah.
And then we move up to the G major 7. Yeah. So that's kind of a pattern I really like to use over this tune.
Cool.
Or like over major 7 chords in general.
It's very cool, like open sound like
yeah, it's a bit wider sounding.
and it's nice with the string skipping too. It's
Yeah, you get that wide interval type of sound. Yeah.
You can always use that in like I always try to incorporate it as soon as possible into my own vocabulary.
Yeah.
Just so I can kind of like incorporate it into my own playing
Right,
as soon as possible.
using it. Yeah.
You can kind of go up like just a normal arpeggio, but here
Exactly, yeah.
you're skipping the
Exactly, yeah. The third, yeah. To get a more wide sound. But yeah, you can totally get a normal arpeggio as well.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, of course.
Really cool.
What concept do you use?
So over the first few bars, one thing which is really cliche is to go up, just the triad, the B triad, and then go.
And then go down chromatically. Yeah, that's really.
So.
That, yeah.
So that's a very like cliche jazz lick. I don't know exactly where it comes from. Maybe it's Ladybird or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like when it goes when it has that turnaround, people usually do that.
Yeah, it's worth it.
So that's something that I like to do just for fun.
Let me see if I can you show me again? Yeah,
exactly.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, nice.
So awesome. Very slick, very nice. So that is just something that I like to do in the beginning. And then another thing is, as you did, you kind of did. You were utilizing the B major and the G major because they're very close to each other. Like they're kind of.
Yeah.
So I kind of do that same thing, playing around with this. So just playing with that, like almost B major scale, but arpeggio.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then you have that G major. Right. So just targeting the chord tones of the next chord, basically. So you go B major, and then it goes D7. That goes to G. So you're in the key of G. So you don't have to think D7. Just think G, right?
Exactly.
So.
Oh, that's really nice.
Maybe. And then I go. Maybe. So that's just going down the E flat major scale.
That's so nice.
So you go. Or whatever it is. But just kind of a hack is just utilizing being very close to, like, don't move like that. Just kind of having very close. So where are the chord tones in B, G, and then E flat?
Yeah. That's
something
awesome.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, I'm kind of using another trick to like sheet, like thinking close, but in a different way. Like I use this trick where I target like the dominant 7 chords. Like it's obviously tricky to like think an entirely new scale. But I find of kind of like a hack that I use with the major scale. I think I'm using the harmonic major scale.
Right.
I'm not sure, but what I'm doing is to like get a little bit of that altered sound. I'm targeting the sharp 5 of the major scale, which is the flat 9 of the dominant 7 chord.
Okay.
So over D7, I'm thinking G major 7 or a G major scale, but with a flat 6, which I think is called the harmonic major scale, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Something like that. Because then you don't have to think, it's almost the same scale, but you also get that flat 9, for example.
Right.
And I like to think that.
So you go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like to think it like this, like I'm targeting like the flat 6. And it's kind of like a cliche thing to do, but like it kind of works because then I get like a note of the dominant 7 chord, but I'm also still within the major scale, so I don't have to like jump ship and change scale.
Right.
So I kind of get a little bit of different sound. So like that type of sound I use a lot over this tune because you have so little time over each chord.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I'm trying like, okay, I'm just trying to target this one note. And then like then I can still get a little bit of that altered sound or like
right.
Like tension, but still not going too far out.
Cool.
So yeah, it's speaking of like being close in a position.
Let's try doing that in time, just very slow.
Yeah, sure.
So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
And then I'm still. So I'm still there all the time. So I have like that note as a target note all the time. When I'm transitioning key, basically.
Right, and you practice it through all the chords, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. So almost like you can do like an etude to like try and find that shape.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of something cliche you can do, I guess. But,
so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also do this like with regular standards, but when you have a little bit more time, you can do more crazy stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
But I find this trick really nice over a tune like this, where you have so little time on each chord, basically.
So nice, and I think that's something that I really also like think a lot about. That like giant steps, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So how can we utilize that to our advantage?
Yeah.
And something that I like to do too is to like almost like literally skip chords, and that's kind of not allowed maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it's like sometimes it just sounds good to just okay, how can I go? It starts B major, goes D7, G major, B flat 7, E flat major 7. And I feel like the E flat major 7 it can land and it breathes a little, right?
Exactly.
That's the feeling when it goes to E flat major 7. It's like okay, now it's landed. So basically, stuff that I do is sometimes I just think B major going to E flat major 7.
Okay.
Because then I can kind of, then I can play with an idea that lands on E flat. And if you can count the first chords, I can show you how that sounds. And some might say it doesn't sound right, but in my opinion, as long as you resolve it, it's okay.
Yeah.
So let me just try a phrase that is like a B major going into E flat major 7 over the first chords.
Yeah.
Let's try it. 1,
2, 1, 2, 3.
So kind of like that.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, and it's
especially when you're playing at a faster tempo.
Yeah, let's try it a little faster.
Yeah.
I can show you how that sounds like. And now I'm gonna try to play just a half whole scale only going into E flat major. So my goal is E flat major, and I'm just gonna play a half whole scale going into that. And I'm gonna start on the B flat because over a B major 7 we can start on the major 7 and play a half whole scale from there.
Right.
So let's just see how that sounds.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That sounds so good. Nice.
Yeah. So that's just pure B. You can call it a B flat half whole scale, B flat diminished.
Yeah.
Going into E flat, and yeah, that's not technically right. But sometimes when you're playing, I mean, how many courses are you gonna think about B major? It's like it just makes it more creative, I think.
Yeah, and you can get like longer outside lines as well.
Exactly.
I really like that step, and also like we can take that shape we looked at in the other video. It lands on the major 7 like beautifully, so that's really nice.
Yeah, it's the same thing, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be stealing that. That's really nice.
Good catch, and that's also like, so you can be creative with that. Like you can basically play anything as long as it resolves in my world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I think you can go the same way, playing like an E major going to E flat major, like thinking it.
Okay, so you go like take a shape and then you go a half step.
Yeah, I think
above.
if I would play just thinking E major over all those chords and then go to E flat major.
Yeah.
That's also something that I think works really good.
Yeah, then you get like this flat 13 type Lydian type of song.
Yeah,
maybe.
sure, and
It resolves really
it
nicely.
results really good. And I think as long as you focus on resolving, then what can go wrong, really? Like,
Yeah, for sure,
I think, but then as long if it's a faster tempo, I think this is more thankful.
Yeah, it doesn't become as harsh.
Exactly.
It's like you don't have time.
But if it's like going very slow and all the chords mean a lot, then it might sound a little weird, and then you might be called out for that. But that's just something that I really like to do.
Yeah, and like in general, like just moving shapes a half step off. Like I mean, I'm sure you do this all the time, but like when we play chords, like that's so common. Like moving this chords a half step up. It's like, why not do this with souling as well?
100%.
So that's kind of what you're doing. Like you're taking a shape and then take the same shape.
Exactly.
That's so nice.
It's the same thing, yeah.
And like I do that a lot with legato. Like I take like the patterns I showed you earlier. Like they work really nice as legato pattern. So like what I like to do is kind of like to create tension. Like if we're in E flat major. Or over the dominant 7 chord. Maybe I take the same shape and I move it a half step up. So like create tension. Like that's something like, that's obviously a common trick obviously. But like taking like a clear pattern and like doing it, then it becomes more obvious for the ear, or like the ear almost buy it.
Yeah, 100%.
When you have a clear shape that you do it with.
Yeah, and also believing in what you play too. Just like kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do this and go 100% into it, right? Because if you're kind of doubting yourself and like, then it's not gonna sound really good.
Yeah.
So that's also like something that sometimes I just try something random and it's like, it will work as long as you resolve it.
Yeah, so as long as you know where you are.
Know where you're going and exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Great, man.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah, should we end it there?
Yeah, sure, unless you have something to add.
This was really fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So much fun. And as I said before, if you watched the previous ones, follow Johannes on Instagram. He's on Instagram. He's really, really great.
Thank you.
Posts guitar lessons and all that. So follow him, and I'll put all the links in the description. So go ahead and do that. And thanks for staying around for this video, and watch the other videos we've done on this subject. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.